Before you start watching, please take a moment to support our channel by liking this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps more than you know. Now imagine this. A poor orphan girl sleeps with a dog just to survive. But what she doesn't realize is that the same dog is the key to an unimaginable fortune. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay with us till the end. This story has a twist you won't see coming. The night air in Eastwood, a small, forgotten town in Georgia, was sharp with cold and loneliness. 17-year-old Riley Monroe huddled under a thin, frayed blanket behind Tony's auto repair. She had been on the streets for almost a year since her foster home kicked her out after accusing her of stealing a $10 bill. She hadn't, but nobody cared. Her only companion now was Bear, a large, ragged, but fiercely loyal golden retriever who showed up beside her one rainy night and never left. Riley didn't know where he came from, but Bear had a calming presence that reminded her of better days, back when her mom was still alive. Most nights, Riley shared her scraps with Bear. They curled together behind the dumpsters for warmth. The workers from Tony's shop pretended she didn't exist, except one kind old man named Jerry who left her a sandwich some mornings, whispering, "You didn't get this from me." One night, a black SUV pulled into the alley and stopped a few feet away from her spot. Riley sat up, heart racing. A man in an expensive trench coat stepped out, holding an umbrella. His eyes were sharp and calculating. "You the girl with the dog?" he asked. Riley nodded slowly, clutching Bear's collar. "What's it to you?" The man gave a small, tight smile. "My name's Clayton Ridge. I work for someone important. He's interested in people who don't have much but still show loyalty. To animals, to anyone really." Riley frowned. "What does that mean?" Clayton extended a card with only a number and a gold embossed logo that said Ridge Foundation. "My boss noticed how you treat that dog. Not many people with nothing would share the little they have. You're either stupid or extraordinary. He'd like to meet you." She looked at the card skeptically. "Why?" Clayton glanced down at Bear. "Because people like you are rare. You sleep in the cold, go hungry, but still protect that dog. That kind of loyalty can't be taught." "Is this some kind of social experiment?" she asked. "No," he said. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Come with me, or don't. But I'll only ask once." Riley hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. Her gut screamed to stay put, but then Bear nudged her arm with his snout. Maybe it was time to stop just surviving. "I'm not leaving him," she said firmly. Clayton smirked. "He's part of the invitation." With nothing left to lose, Riley gathered her blanket and followed Clayton to the SUV, Bear trailing beside her. As the car pulled away from the alley, Riley stared out the window, not knowing her life was about to change forever, and in ways she could never imagine. Riley sat stiffly in the back seat of the sleek black SUV, Bear's head resting on her lap. The road curved endlessly through the Georgia countryside until the cracked city sidewalks gave way to pine trees and private gates. After nearly an hour, the car slowed in front of towering iron gates with no name or emblem. Beyond them, a sprawling estate loomed. Clayton didn't speak much during the ride. He glanced at her now and then through the rearview mirror, almost as if measuring her reaction. "We're here," he said finally, pressing a button on the dashboard. The gates opened silently, revealing a wide gravel driveway flanked by hedges sculpted into animals. Riley's jaw tightened. "This place looks like a movie set." "It's real," Clayton said. "And so is the man who owns it." The car rolled to a stop in front of a mansion with massive marble pillars. Clayton opened her door. "Come on. He doesn't like to wait." Bear jumped down first, sniffing the air cautiously. Riley followed, trying to suppress the whirlwind of fear and hope surging inside her. A butler in a perfectly tailored suit opened the front door, nodding to Clayton. "He's in the drawing room." As they stepped inside, Riley's breath caught. The interior was a mix of antique charm and modern elegance. Vaulted ceilings, velvet drapes, chandeliers, and paintings that looked like they belonged in a museum. She felt dirty just standing there. The drawing room had tall windows, a roaring fireplace, and a grand piano. In front of it sat an older man in a burgundy robe, sipping tea from a porcelain cup. His hair was white, his eyes steel blue. He looked at her and then at Bear. "You must be Riley," he said calmly. "And this magnificent beast is Bear." "Who are you?" Riley asked, clutching Bear's fur for comfort. "My name is Warren Kingsley," the man replied. "I built this place from the ground up. I don't have children, but I have a keen interest in character. Real character. You've shown it." Riley squinted. "By sleeping with a dog?" He smiled softly. "By choosing compassion over comfort. Most would have abandoned that dog long ago. You didn't. That tells me you're worth investing in." Warren gestured for her to sit. Bear hopped up first, curling beside the fire like he'd lived here his whole life. "I'm offering you a chance," Warren continued. "Live here, go to school, learn what it means to thrive, not just survive. All I ask in return is that you remain loyal, to Bear, to yourself, and to the people who help you." Riley blinked. "What's the catch?" "No catch," he said. "But there will be tests. This house doesn't just give money. It reveals who you are. And that's worth more than millions." Riley stared at the fire, Bear's slow breathing grounding her. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in years, she felt warm. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll stay." The first morning at Kingsley Estate didn't start with a breakfast buffet or a gold-plated invitation to luxury. It began with a knock on Riley's door at 5:45 a.m. She bolted upright from the silk sheets, still half disbelieving she was in a real bed. Bear growled softly as a voice called through the door. "Time to start the day, Miss Monroe." Riley groaned. What kind of rich people get up before the sun? Still, she swung her legs over the edge and stood. A woman in her early 30s named Elise was waiting just outside. She was stern, with her chestnut hair pulled into a tight bun and a clipboard in hand. "Mr. Kingsley believes discipline builds character," Elise said. "Breakfast is at 6. After that, you'll begin your orientation." "Orientation? This isn't a job," Riley muttered. Elise didn't respond. She simply led her to the dining hall, where Riley sat at a long polished table covered in steaming trays of eggs, toast, bacon, and fruit. Bear had a separate dish prepared for him near the fireplace, and he dove in like he'd been a guest here for years. Warren Kingsley appeared precisely at 6:05, dressed in a crisp suit and holding a black leather journal. "You're awake." "Good," he said, pouring himself coffee. "I wasn't sure if you'd last the night." Riley paused mid-bite. "Why wouldn't I? Some people get overwhelmed by comfort. They lose themselves in it. Others, they stay sharp. I'm still figuring out which one you are." She didn't know what to say, so she just kept eating. After breakfast, Elise gave Riley a full tour of the mansion. It had more rooms than Riley could count. Libraries, art galleries, indoor gardens, even a training gym. But no matter where they walked, Bear followed quietly, always watching. At the end of the tour, Elise led her to a classroom tucked inside the West Wing. "You'll study here daily," she said. "Math, history, economics, psychology, even philosophy." "Philosophy?" Riley raised an eyebrow. "I barely passed algebra." "Doesn't matter. Mr. Kingsley believes the mind grows when it's challenged." The next surprise came after lunch. Elise handed Riley a plain black notebook. "You're required to journal every night. Not just events, your thoughts, doubts, fears, growth. Mr. Kingsley reads every entry." Riley felt a chill. "He reads our journals?" "Only yours," Elise said. "You're the only one here like you." Later that evening, Riley sat on her private balcony as Bear curled beside her feet. She stared at the blank notebook, struggling with what to write. Everything about this place felt like a test. But for what? She finally scribbled, "I don't trust any of this. But I want to. That scares me more than sleeping in alleys ever did." As she closed the journal and pulled the blanket over herself and Bear, she didn't realize a hidden camera watched them from the chandelier. and Mr. Kingsley was already watching the footage. The following week passed in a strange rhythm. Classes in the morning, lessons in etiquette and finance in the afternoons, and journaling at night. Riley was doing things she'd never imagined. Decoding stock reports, studying Plato, and discussing leadership principles with Warren Kingsley over tea. But what confused her most was the mansion's energy. The staff was polite but distant. They never made small talk, and no one ever mentioned the East Wing. It was always locked. One morning, as Riley and Bear were walking near the rose garden, Bear's ears perked. He darted toward the back path that curved toward the East Wing. "Bear! Wait!" Riley ran after him, heart pounding. The dog stopped at a tall, ivy-covered door with rusted hinges. Riley reached for the knob, but it was locked. Just then, a low voice startled her. "You shouldn't be here." She turned to see Elise standing a few feet behind her, hands folded over her clipboard. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "I was just following Bear," Riley explained quickly. "He heard something." "Even so," Elise said, "the East Wing is off limits. Mr. Kingsley's orders." "Why?" Riley asked. Elise didn't blink. "Some doors are meant to stay closed." That night, Riley sat on her bed, replaying the moment. Something about the way Elise said it wasn't just a rule. It was a warning. She opened her journal and wrote, "There's something in the East Wing. Something they don't want me to see." But Bear smelled it, heard it. Maybe someone's living there. 3 days later, Riley got her answer. She was walking back from the library when she heard a faint humming sound. It was soft, fragile, even like a lullaby. She followed the sound down a side corridor lined with old portraits. Bear moved quietly beside her, tail low. The humming grew louder near a narrow passage hidden behind a curtain. Carefully, she slipped behind it. At the end of the passage was a cracked wooden door, slightly ajar. She peered in and gasped. A woman sat in a wheelchair, her hair silver, her eyes distant but bright. She was singing to herself, rocking gently. Her room was dim but filled with drawings, dozens of them, pinned to the walls. Most were of a man who looked like Warren Kingsley, but younger. The woman stopped humming and looked directly at Riley. "You're the girl with the dog," she said, smiling faintly. "You remind me of me." Riley froze. "Who are you?" The woman leaned forward, her smile fading. "I was the first." Before Riley could ask more, Elise appeared behind her, expression cold. "Step away from the door," Elise said firmly. "She talked to me," Riley whispered. "She said she was the first." "What does that mean?" Elise's voice dropped. "I told you not to come here." Riley obeyed, but her heart was racing. The woman wasn't just hidden. She was hidden for a reason. Something wasn't right. And Riley was starting to wonder if Bear was the only one she could trust in that house. Riley barely slept that night. The woman's face haunted her. "I was the first." First what? A student? A test subject? A failed heir? She tried to bring it up with Warren the next morning over their usual tea, but he deflected with a knowing smile. "There are many secrets in this house, Riley. Some are buried for a reason." That only made her more determined. Over the next few days, Riley paid closer attention to the staff. Everyone moved like clockwork, never wasting words, never wandering from their duties. Even Bear seemed on edge, pacing more than usual and growling softly at certain corners of the house. Then, while dusting off books in the West Library, Riley found something unexpected wedged behind a globe. A leather-bound journal with a name embossed in gold. Eleanor K. She opened it. The handwriting was loopy but elegant. The first line stopped her cold. "I was chosen just like the others." But Warren never wanted partners, only replacements. Page after page detailed a young woman's time at the estate, Eleanor's time. It mirrored Riley's own. Strange lessons, unwavering discipline. A dog that watched her like a guardian. But Eleanor wrote about something Riley hadn't seen. The will tests. Warren, it seemed, wasn't just evaluating intelligence or loyalty. He was breaking people down, watching to see who would bend, who would snap, and who would survive. The last few pages were the most chilling. He said the estate must go to someone with iron character. He called me weak because I cried when Bear died. But I didn't fail. He failed for turning loyalty into a weapon. Bear. Riley's stomach dropped. Was this the same dog? No, it couldn't be. Eleanor wrote this over 20 years ago. But maybe the name Bear wasn't just a coincidence. Maybe it was part of the test. A symbol. Or a replacement too. She slammed the journal shut, heart pounding. Later that night, she wrote in her own journal, Warren doesn't want an heir. He wants a mirror. Someone to play his game without breaking. But I'm not like Eleanor. I'm not here to win. I'm here to uncover the truth. A knock sounded at her door. Riley shoved the journal under her pillow. It was Elise. Mr. Kingsley would like to see you. Now. She followed Elise down the hall, Bear padding silently behind her. The drawing room was dimly lit. Warren stood near the fire, hands clasped behind his back. I hear you've been exploring, he said without turning around. Did you enjoy the East Wing? Riley stayed silent. He turned slowly. Do you know what I respect more than loyalty, Riley? What? She asked, jaw tight. Curiosity, he said with a smile. It means you're still thinking, still learning. He stepped closer. But remember, curiosity can also be dangerous, especially in a house built on secrets. Riley didn't flinch. So can silence. Warren's smile didn't fade, but his eyes narrowed just slightly. Well then, he said, let's see how far you're willing to go. The next morning, Riley woke to find a sealed envelope on her nightstand. No handwriting. Just a wax stamp with the same emblem that appeared on the Ridge Foundation card Clayton had once given her. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a single sheet of thick parchment. Trial 1. Sacrifice. Beneath it, in smaller letters, you have access to everything you need, but so does everyone else. Today, you will be asked to give something you value for the benefit of someone you've never met. If you refuse, you lose privileges. If you comply, you lose comfort. Decide who you really are. No instructions. No destination. Just that. She looked over at Bear, who was already sitting up, ears alert. What the hell does that mean? She murmured. Less than an hour later, Elise appeared at her door with 2 staff members and a box. Today is your first trial, Elise said coolly. You'll be donating all your possessions except what's in this box. You may choose one item to keep. Everything else will be taken to the community shelter in Eastwood. Riley blinked. What kind of game is this? No game, Elise said. You've been living in luxury for weeks. Now we find out if you've become dependent, or if you remember who you were. Inside her room were clothes, new shoes, a digital tablet for her studies, her soft sheets, and custom art supplies Warren had given her when he saw her doodling. All comforts that, for a girl who once slept behind dumpsters, felt like heaven. She stared at the box, could barely fit more than one thing. She looked around the room, then down at Bear, then back to the drawing of her mother she'd sketched the night before. Quietly, Riley folded the drawing, slid it into the box, and stepped back. Take the rest. The staff collected her things in silence. Elise nodded once, but didn't smile. Later that afternoon, she was given a simple blanket, a metal desk chair, and 1 set of plain clothes. Warren visited her that evening. I didn't think you'd give it all up, he said, standing in the doorway. I didn't come here for soft sheets, Riley replied. He tilted his head. You gave up everything for a piece of paper. It wasn't just paper, she said. It was my mom. Warren nodded thoughtfully. Eleanor failed this trial. She kept her pearls. Said they were from her grandmother. I told her that sentimentality makes a person weak. Well, Riley said, maybe she was just human. Warren's eyes glimmered, but he said nothing. Instead, he left a wrapped package on her desk and walked out. Riley opened it after he left. Inside was a new notebook, blank, and underneath it, the original journal of Eleanor Kay, with a fresh pen. That night, Riley wrote, he thinks he's testing me, but he's forgetting something. You don't test people like me, we've already been through hell. We don't break. We adapt. Outside, the wind howled. Bear lifted his head, then lay back down at her feet. Something was coming. Riley could feel it. The following day, the estate seemed off. The air was quieter. The halls were too clean. And everywhere Riley went, staff members stared just a little longer than usual. Bear walked closer to her side, sensing the shift too. By midday, Elise appeared again, this time with a black formal gown in hand. Mr. Kingsley is hosting a private dinner tonight. You're invited. A dinner. Riley narrowed her eyes. After the whole sacrifice everything routine, Elise didn't flinch. Consider it another lesson. That evening, Riley stepped into the grand dining room. Candlelight flickered across the massive oak table. Dozens of seats stood empty, but 4 were occupied. Warren at the head, Clayton to his left, Elise across from him, and an empty chair beside them all, clearly meant for her. She sat cautiously. Bear remained just outside the doorway, watching from the shadows. Warren lifted his glass. To resilience, he said, eyes locked on Riley. To the few who endure when comfort is stripped away. The servers brought out silver trays of smoked salmon, roasted duck, wild rice, and glistening fruits. Luxuries Riley hadn't tasted since arriving. She stared at her plate, unsure. Warren noticed. You're suspicious. Riley raised an eyebrow. Shouldn't I be? He chuckled. Smart. But not everything is poisoned, Riley. Some things are just reward. She took a bite. Slowly. The flavors exploded in her mouth. A reminder of what she'd given up. But instead of satisfaction, she felt uneasy. Halfway through the meal, Warren set down his fork. Tell me something, Riley. Do you trust me? The room went still. No, she said flatly. Clayton grinned at his plate. Elise paused mid-chew. Warren's smile didn't fade. Good. Trust is earned, not inherited. You might be the only one here who understands that. Why am I here? She asked finally. Why really? He leaned back, folding his hands. Because the estate needs a successor. Not just someone smart or loyal, but someone who can carry the burden of truth and still walk upright. Truth? She repeated. You think this is about money? He scoffed. It's about legacy. This estate isn't just land. It's a vault of knowledge, secrets, decisions that have shaped people's lives. Eleanor couldn't handle it. Neither could the ones after her. The ones after, how many? Warren's eyes darkened. 12. Riley's stomach turned. Elise was one of them, Warren added casually. So was Clayton. Not everyone fails the same way. Some become useful in other ways. Elise said nothing. Clayton gave a tight smile. So this is a cycle? Riley asked. Bring in someone broken. Feed them. Dress them. Test them. See if they can survive. Warren stood. No. I find someone who's already survived. Then I see if they can lead. The room chilled. Riley realized this wasn't just a dinner. It was a warning. You've passed the first trial, Warren said. But the second starts now. Riley narrowed her eyes. What is it? Warren turned to go, but paused in the doorway. Betrayal, he said quietly. Let's see who you turn on first. And with that, he disappeared into the dark hall. Riley didn't sleep that night. She stared at the ceiling of her room, Eleanor's journal gripped in her hands, Bear's breathing steady at her side. Betrayal, Warren had said. The word echoed louder than any of his other games. She didn't know who she was supposed to betray, or who would betray her. The next morning, the staff was tight-lipped. Her schedule was cancelled. No classes, no meals delivered, just silence. By mid-afternoon, Clayton knocked once and entered without waiting. Walk with me, he said. Riley followed him through the mansion's west wing and out into the garden. The air was cool, the fountain murmuring in the center. Bear trotted along silently. Clayton didn't speak until they reached the gazebo. You're not like the others. Others like Elise? She asked. Others like me, he corrected. I was in your position once. 7 years ago. Riley blinked. You? He nodded. I made it further than most. Warren saw potential. But I failed the third trial, conviction. I chose safety instead of truth. Then why are you still here? Clayton shrugged. Some failures get repurposed. She sat on the edge of the fountain. What do you want from me? I want to offer you a choice, he said. I know what the next trial is, and I know how to pass it. But the cost? Well, you'll have to decide if it's worth it. Riley's heart pounded. What is it? He lowered his voice. They're going to bring someone from your past. Someone you care about. The test will be simple, choose them or choose yourself. Warren wants to see if you're willing to cut ties. Emotion versus ambition. Her eyes widened. What? He's done it before, Clayton said. Eleanor's sister. Another girl's foster brother. He'll find whoever mattered most. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you could succeed where I failed. But only if you stop letting Bear be your conscience. She stiffened. Leave Bear out of this. Clayton smiled. He's part of the illusion. That dog has been in this house longer than I have. Every trial subject had a bear. Trained, planted, controlled. No, Riley said, shaking her head. Bear found me. Or maybe you were meant to find him, he said coldly. Think, Riley. When has he ever disobeyed? Ever wandered too far? He follows you, yes, but maybe that's his job. Her breath caught in her throat. I'm giving you a path, Clayton said. Play along. When they bring the person, choose loyalty to Warren. You'll be safe. You'll be powerful. And if I don't? Clayton stepped back. Then you'll break. Like all the others. That night, Riley sat in her darkened room, the journal on her lap and Bear beside her. She looked into his eyes, suddenly unsure. Are you really mine? She whispered. Bear licked her hand and laid his head in her lap. But the doubt had been planted. And in the House of Secrets, doubt was the first crack in the wall. 3 days passed, each more agonizing than the last. The mansion was quiet, eerily so. No more lessons. No Elise. No Warren. Only Clayton, who watched Riley from the shadows like a vulture circling something already wounded. She stopped journaling. She didn't trust the pages anymore. She didn't even trust Bear, not fully. The idea that he was placed in her life, trained to earn her trust, gnawed at her every time he looked at her with those soulful eyes. Then, late one evening, Elise returned with a single sentence. He's here. Riley's chest tightened. Who? But Elise was already walking down the corridor. Riley followed, her fists clenched, heart pounding like a drum. Bear padded behind her, silent as always. They passed through a narrow hallway Riley had never seen before and descended a flight of stairs into a dim-lit room that looked like an interrogation chamber dressed as a parlor. And sitting in the center was Marcus, her foster brother, the one person who had always stood by her before she was kicked out. The boy who used to sneak her peanut butter sandwiches when the rest of the house forgot she existed. She hadn't seen him in almost 2 years. He looked thinner, worn out, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw her. Riley? He gasped, standing. She ran to him. Marcus, what are you doing here? I don't know, he stammered. Some guy in a suit showed up a week ago. Said I was being offered a chance to see someone I'd lost. Then I wake up in this place. What is this? Before she could answer, Warren's voice cut through the silence. It's your final trial. He stepped forward from the shadows, hands behind his back. You've shown loyalty to a dog, sacrificed comfort, resisted fear, and questioned power. All admirable, he said. But legacy requires one final trait. Detachment. Marcus looked between them. What is he talking about? Warren continued. You have 2 options, Riley. Option 1, you choose Marcus. He walks out of here unharmed. But you leave with nothing. Your education ends. Your future here is erased. You go back to the streets. Marcus stepped toward her. What? No, don't listen to him. Warren raised a hand. Option 2, you choose the estate. You stay. You inherit everything. But Marcus? He forgets you. He'll be released. But with memories wiped clean. You'll be a stranger to him. Riley's mouth went dry. She looked at Marcus, At the boy who once hid beside her during thunderstorms, who taught her how to patch her sneakers with duct tape. Then she looked at Bear. Still, quiet, unreadable. "What kind of monster are you?" she whispered. Warren tilted his head. "I'm a gatekeeper. The world doesn't need more people with heart. It needs people who can lead without hesitation." Marcus's voice broke. "Riley, don't let him take this from you. I don't care what happens to me. Just don't lose yourself." Tears burned in her eyes. Warren waited. "So, what's your choice?" And Riley, heart aching, finally understood what Eleanor meant in her journal. Sometimes loyalty isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting go. The silence hung so thick it was suffocating. Warren's cold eyes stayed locked on Riley. Marcus stood behind her, trembling, uncertain whether to brace for her decision or her betrayal. Riley wiped her face, then stood straighter. Her voice was soft but unshaking. "I choose Marcus." Warren blinked. "Are you sure?" "I've been sure since the moment I saw him," she said. "All this time you've been testing me for power, for detachment, for control. But I'm not your puppet, and I never wanted to be." "Do you realize what you're giving up?" he said quietly. "I was never here for the money," Riley replied. "I thought I was, but it was always about something deeper. I just didn't know it until now." Warren stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "And what is that, exactly?" Riley stared him down. "Being human. That's what makes us different from people like you. I'll walk away with nothing, and I'll still have more than you ever will." Warren's mouth twitched. Then, for the first time, he laughed. Not coldly, not cruelly. It was real. A full, surprised laugh that echoed off the walls. "You're the first," he said. "The very first who understood." "What?" Riley asked, her heart still pounding. He walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a sealed envelope. He held it out to her. "What's this?" "Your inheritance. I just gave all of that up." Warren shook his head. "No, you passed." She stared, stunned. He explained, "The test was never about loyalty to me. It was about loyalty to yourself. Every other candidate chose the estate. They became hollow, smart, powerful, but hollow. You chose your heart. And that's what makes you worthy of all of it." Riley's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a legal document bearing her name, along with a deed to the Kingsley estate, and a signed letter naming her the sole heir of the Ridge Foundation. "But, I don't understand." Warren stepped forward, voice lower now. "I built this empire on the backs of the broken. I watched them, studied them, molded them, but I never trusted anyone to take over. Until now." Marcus stepped beside her, confused. "So, we're free." Warren looked at him and nodded. "You're free. Both of you. Do what you will with the estate. Sell it. Burn it. Turn it into a school. I don't care. I just needed to know the future would be in the hands of someone who still knew what hunger felt like." Tears spilled down Riley's cheeks. "And Bear." Warren knelt beside the dog, scratched his head. "Bear was mine once. He's been part of every trial since Eleanor. But this time, I think he chose you." Bear looked up at her with soft eyes, tail wagging gently. Later that night, Riley stood in her room, no longer a guest, but the owner. Marcus lay asleep down the hall. Bear curled on her bed like he always had. She opened her new journal. "This house was built on secrets. Now it'll be built on something better. I don't need to pass tests anymore. I just need to live." She paused, then added one more line. "And this time I won't be doing it alone." And so, the little girl who once had nothing, no family, no home, and no hope, found everything she never imagined in the most unexpected way. All because she showed kindness and love to a creature the world overlooked. In return, that dog led her to a future filled with family, purpose, and love. Riley's story reminds us that sometimes, the very thing we think is a burden is actually a blessing in disguise. If this story touched your heart even a little, please don't leave without giving it a like, dropping a comment, and subscribing. Your support helps us keep telling powerful, life-changing stories like this one. And hey, share this with someone who needs a little hope today. You never know who it might inspire.